It was barely 5:30 a.m. when the first light touched the alleys of Eastborough Market. Crates were being unloaded, steam rose from portable stoves, and the scent of grilled pork and sesame oil mingled with the morning fog. Clara Bennett tied her dark apron tighter, pulled her cap low over her loose ponytail, and slid the creaky stall window open. Her hands, still unused to the chill, trembled slightly as she arranged boxes of rice noodles and spring rolls she had spent the night preparing. No one would guess she was the only daughter of Harold Bennett, CEO of Bennett Foods, the multinational conglomerate that practically owned half the frozen aisle of every grocery store in America. She wasn't here for a photo op. She was here to learn how food, real food, was made, served, and lived with. After a scandal involving her father's company over labor practices abroad, Clara had demanded to see what the world beyond boardrooms and tasting menus looked like. Her father had laughed at first, but when she threatened to resign from her internship and leave home altogether, he offered her a challenge. You want to learn how our customers live? Fine. Work for 3 months. Cash only, street level, no credit cards, no last name. If you last, you can have your say on our new supply chain reform plan. So here she was. For week 3 now, Clara had been running a small food cart tucked into one of the quieter ends of the market. Under the name Clary, with no makeup, no phone luxuries, and barely enough sleep. Morning, Clary? Called Mrs. Huang, the elderly dumpling seller 2 stalls down. Clara smiled. Morning! Your sesame buns smell dangerously good today. You look tired, Clara chuckled. Feels like my face fell asleep before the rest of me. Mrs. Huang winked. That means you're doing it right. The rush began by 6 a.m. Office workers, delivery men, students. A stream of people came for quick bites and familiar comfort. Clara moved faster than she ever had in her life, handing out plastic containers and counting cash in her head. At 7:45 a.m. he appeared, pushing a squeaky cart filled with crates of drinks. The guy wore a faded sweatshirt and jeans stained from hauling boxes. Sweat clung to his forehead despite the chill. His name tag read, Jay. He paused at her stall, panting slightly. You're the one who does lemongrass chicken, right? Clara nodded. Yeah, want a box? I'd sell my left sneaker for one, he grinned. She handed him a warm container. We take cash or sneakers, no organs today. He laughed, a full, surprised kind of laugh. How much? $5. He fished into his pocket and came up with 3 crumpled ones and a few coins. Shoot, I'm short. Next time? Clara took the money and handed over the box anyway. Just bring me your other sneaker tomorrow. Jay blinked, surprised. You're serious? About food always. He saluted with the takeout box. Thanks, Chicken Queen. I owe you. Clara grinned. You already paid. From that day on, he came by regularly, sometimes with full payment, sometimes with a joke. He called her Chicken Queen, and she started calling him Crate Guy. Their banter was easy, natural, the kind you don't have to think about. What surprised Clara most wasn't Jay's charm, though. It was the way he treated every vendor. From the grumpy fruit guy to the kid selling phone chargers, like they mattered. He carried water for the elderly, helped restack fallen crates, and stayed to chat even when he wasn't delivering. One rainy Thursday, Clara's plastic roof tore open mid-morning. Water soaked half her prep area. Her sleeves were dripping, her spring rolls ruined, and her patience gone. Jay showed up during the worst of it. Umbrella tilted sideways, a towel draped around his neck. Did a storm declare war on your stall? Looks like it, Clara muttered, shivering. Without a word, Jay pulled out 2 plastic sheets from his cart, leftovers from some cafe supply, and helped her cover the roof. He wiped the countertop dry and handed her the towel. Clara looked at him, soaked and smiling. Why are you helping me? Jay shrugged. You gave me food when I couldn't afford it. I figure that buys you 1 free rescue. She stared at him for a second. You ever think about charging interest? He tilted his head. Only if it's paid in dumplings. That day, they ate lunch together for the first time. hunched under her cart's tiny awning, sharing soggy spring rolls and stories about market customers. Jay told her he lived with his uncle in a one-bedroom flat, worked 2 delivery jobs, and dreamed of one day opening his own eco-delivery service using bikes and solar-powered lockers. Clara told him, well, not much. Just that she was new in town and figuring things out. "Don't let this place chew you up," he said, gesturing at the market chaos. "I won't," she replied. But in truth, it already had, and she kind of loved it. When she got home that night, a one-room rental above a laundromat, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Not because he was charming, he was, or kind, he really was, but because he didn't ask questions. He didn't pry. He just existed with her in that same messy, beautiful space. And for once in her life, Clara didn't feel like an imposter. She just felt seen. By the time the leaves began to change color, Clara and Jay had settled into a rhythm. He would show up at her stall almost every morning around 8, sweat-drenched and smiling, usually with a half-funny story about a delivery mishap. She would hand him his usual lemongrass chicken box, now always paid in full, sometimes with extra dumplings thrown in for free. They never made plans. They never needed to. It just happened. One chilly morning, Jay arrived later than usual, limping slightly and favoring his left arm. "What happened?" Clara asked, handing him a paper cup of ginger tea. "Guy's Doberman didn't like the sound of my cartwheels," he said, wincing. "Took a little bite." Clara's eyes widened. "You got bit?" Jay waved it off. "I'm fine. Didn't bleed much. You should have seen the dog." She frowned. "You shouldn't be working if you're injured." He smiled. "Rent doesn't care about my pain, Clary." She hated that. Hated that she couldn't just say, "Let me help you," without it sounding suspicious. Because if she did, if she revealed that her savings account had more digits than most phone numbers, everything would change. So she just poured him more tea and wrapped his sandwich tighter. That night, Clara lay awake on her futon, staring at the cracked ceiling. The walls smelled faintly of detergent and fried tofu from downstairs. Her hands were calloused now. Her hair smelled like sesame oil. And yet, this cramped, loud, imperfect life felt more real than any penthouse she'd ever stayed in. She thought about Jay's bruised arm and the way he still smiled. He made her forget who she was, not because he ignored her, but because he saw her in the present. Just Clary. The girl with the apron and the messy handwriting on the chalkboard menu. The next morning, Clara got an unexpected call. "You've made it halfway," her father's voice said through the old flip phone she used for this life. "We're launching the supply chain reform pilot. Thought you'd want to come back and help oversee it." She paused. "Do I have to decide now?" "You're the one who wanted to take this detour," he replied. "I'm offering you the fast lane back." Clara stood in silence, watching a pigeon peck at fallen rice grains by her cart. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She just said, "I'll think about it." That evening, after the market closed, Jay showed up again. This time not in his work clothes, but in jeans that actually fit and a clean flannel shirt. "You clean up nice," Clara said, raising an eyebrow. "I showered, twice, for this." "For what?" Jay hesitated, then pulled out 2 tickets from his jacket. "There's a pop-up night market by the riverside," he said. "Live music, fire lanterns. I figured you work hard. Maybe you deserve to enjoy the market for once instead of being stuck behind it." Clara stared at the tickets, heart thudding. She wanted to say yes, badly, but the reality of who she really was pressed hard against her ribs. I don't know," she said, suddenly flustered. "I have inventory tomorrow, and I'm behind on prepping." "Clary," he said gently, "you can say no. I just thought—" "No," she cut in. "I mean, yes, I want to go." His smile could have lit the whole stall. The riverbank shimmered under hundreds of paper lanterns. The air smelled like grilled corn and cinnamon buns. Live acoustic music played in the distance. and small stalls sold everything from handmade candles to sketch portraits. Jay walked beside Clara, holding a skewer of roasted marshmallows. "You're smiling," he said. "I always smile." "No," he replied. "You usually half smile like you're afraid of being happy. This one's real." Clara nudged him. "You're dramatic." "I'm observant." They sat by the water, watching boats float by, their lights reflecting on the rippling surface. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Jay said suddenly. Clara hesitated, then said softly, "I used to think I'd never do anything meaningful." Jay turned to her, surprised. "You? You run a stall solo and feed 100 people a day." She looked down. "That's different. This isn't who I used to be." He studied her face, then asked, "What did you used to be?" Clara's throat tightened. For a second, she considered telling him everything. About Bennett Foods, about her father, about the reason she was even here. But she didn't. Instead, she said, "Lost." Jay nodded slowly. "Well, maybe that's what markets are for, helping people find where they belong." They stayed there in silence for a long while. A week later, Clara came back from a quick grocery run to find someone waiting at her stall. A man in a sharp navy suit, clean-shaven, sunglasses, earbud in one ear. "Ms. Bennett," he said, "your father asked me to deliver this." He handed her a sealed envelope and stepped away, disappearing into the crowd. Clara stared at the letter. Inside was a plane ticket, a new badge, and a note. "3 weeks left. You've done well. Ready to come home?" Dad. But the moment she looked up, she saw Jay at the end of the row, laughing with a fruit vendor. He didn't see her. He was helping the old man stack watermelons that kept rolling off a cart. She clutched the envelope, heart pounding. She was running out of time, and soon she'd have to choose. Return to the legacy that was built for her, or stay in the life she had built for herself. Clara didn't open the envelope again. She tucked it into the bottom drawer of her food cart and kept working. She diced onions, flipped dumplings, counted change, and listened to Jay tell a story about how he delivered noodles to the wrong apartment and ended up getting a hug from a grandma who thought he was her grandson. But her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. Jay noticed. Of course he did. "You okay, Clary?" he asked one afternoon as they packed up. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Sure?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Just tired." But Jay wasn't convinced. That night, he lingered behind after all the other vendors had left. Clara was wiping down the counter when he stepped closer. "I know we don't talk about deep stuff much," he began. "But if there's something going on, you can tell me." Clara looked at him, truly looked, and for a second she almost cracked. She almost said, "I'm not who you think I am. I'm the daughter of the man who owns half the frozen food industry. I'm leaving in 3 weeks, and I'm scared." But instead she whispered, "You trust me, right?" Jay blinked. "Yeah, why?" "No reason," she said. "Just wanted to hear it." He smiled gently. "I trust you with my best dumpling secret." She laughed. "You mean the one where you overcook them on purpose so the edges get crispy?" He raised an eyebrow. "That's a culinary decision, thank you." The next few days passed with an odd sense of urgency. Clara worked faster, cleaned longer, said less. Her eyes were always on the clock, as if time was running out. Because it was. Jay invited her to the Food Vendor Awards night, a community event where locals voted for their favorite stall. Clara's cart had been nominated. "You have to come," he said. "You're basically a local legend now." She hesitated. "I don't know." "Don't worry, you don't have to give a speech," he teased. "Just show up and pretend to be surprised when you win." That made her laugh, but inside her heart ached. Because by the time the awards happened, she'd be gone. The night before her flight, she stood in front of the food cart for the last time. Everything was clean, locked, ready for someone else. She hadn't told Jay she was leaving. How could she? He thought she was a girl with calloused hands and soy sauce-stained sleeves. He didn't know about the corporate meetings, the private jet, the Forbes features she'd skipped. He didn't know she'd been living a lie, even if it was the most honest life she'd ever lived. Her phone buzzed. "Jay." You coming tomorrow? Even if we don't win, I saved us seats. She typed, then erased. Typed again, then deleted everything. Then she turned off the phone. The next morning, the sun rose pink and golden over the market. But Clara wasn't there to see it. She was already at the airport, boarding gate in sight, backpack slung over her shoulder. She wore sunglasses and a clean trench coat, the kind her mother would approve of. As she walked towards the gate, she heard a voice. Clary? She froze, turned, and there he was, breathless, holding her burner phone in his hand, eyes wide with disbelief. Jay, how did you— Your dumpling guy friend told me you hadn't opened your stall. That's never happened in 4 months. I went looking. He held up her phone. You left this at the stall. Clara felt her throat tighten. He stepped closer. What's going on? She looked at him, tears welling up. I lied, she said. About who I am, about everything. Jay didn't speak. My name's not Clary Lee, she said softly. It's Clara Bennett. My family owns Bennett Foods. I came here to learn, to prove I wasn't just some entitled rich girl. Jay's jaw clenched. I was supposed to be here 3 weeks, she continued. It turned into months. I didn't expect to meet you. I didn't expect to feel like this. Jay looked down. So everything was fake? No, she said firmly. This, you and me, that was the only real thing. That's why I didn't want to ruin it. Silence stretched between them. Clara swallowed. I'll go if you want me to, but I had to tell you the truth. Jay stared at her, then took a deep breath. Do you still want dumplings with crispy edges? She blinked. What? I'm just saying, he said, voice soft. If you're still hungry, I'm still cooking. Clara laughed through her tears. I can cancel the flight, she whispered. I was hoping you would. A week later, Clara stood in front of the community awards tent. Jay was beside her, one arm around her waist, the other holding their shared certificate. Best food stall, community favorite. People clapped, laughed, took pictures. Someone shouted, Speech! Clara stepped up to the mic, heart pounding. Hi, she said. Some of you know me as Clary. Some of you may learn my full name soon. But no matter what you call me, thank you. This market, this messy, beautiful, honest place, gave me more than I ever imagined. She looked at Jay. It gave me a reason to stay. The crowd cheered, and beneath the string lights and smell of garlic noodles, the heiress who had come to lose herself finally found home.